Howdy, howdy, gangsters. Let's have a good time. Is Diet Coke in good in moderation? Of course, Diet Coke is just fine for, especially for a weight loss journey in moderation. Best advice for losing the last layer. Mike has a good answer for this. Mike, what's the best advice for losing that last 5 to 10 pounds?
Your body does not want to get rid of it. It doesn't, because your body doesn't want to be shredded. So there's two things here. One, if you get shredded for the summer and that's going to be your thing, you go right ahead. You will not look that way all year. When you see someone shredded on social media, they're meant to look that way. They don't look that way all the time. They're flexed, they're posed, sometimes dehydrated. I'm guilty of this. My after picture is in that same level. Like, I'm at the very bottom of my cut. But the way that you're going to lose that last 10 pounds is the way you lose the first 100 pounds, slowly and through a slight calorie deficit through moving. Nothing changes. It does get slower, but nothing changes about the process.
Also, if I see any more fucking comments about getting us oiled up,
it's me and Noel Dizell. I don't know why it is that we have that crossover, but I am asked to oil up every day on these streams.
I've gotten a couple of them, but I think they're mostly for you. Gavin, what's good, brother? Evan, what's going on?
I want to see you oiled up, not me. Go to him. Send it to him. Anyone who wants somebody to oil up.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Never mind. He doesn't want it.
Is salt and seasoning bad for dieting? Absolutely not. Salt and seasoning is a phenomenal, salt, pepper, garlic powder, paprika, garlic salt, any sort of like lemon pepper seasoning, all of them are absolutely phenomenal for adding a ton of depth and flavor to the taste of your food without adding any significant calories. And before anybody starts barking about water weight, yes, there's going to be salt in those seasonings. There's going to be sodium in those seasonings. That's fine. A little bit of water weight isn't going to kill you. It's going to flush out as long as you're drinking your water and you're keeping balance. But you absolutely, scientifically you don't need it, but to be a sane human being, having some seasoning is going to make life 10 times easier because it doesn't have the calories as like sauces, butters, dressings, stuff like that.
You can go a little overboard with the salt. It is possible. It's not going to be good for your cardiovascular health, for your blood pressure.
Especially over the long term. You're just pounding salt 24/7.
But should you avoid it? No, it is one of the 4 vital electrolytes that you need. Just as, I don't know if anyone here has ever heard of water toxicity or drinking too much water. The reason that it can hurt you is because you flush out your electrolytes. You flush out your body's ability to actually absorb the hydration you're giving it. So, yeah, could a lot of us stand to cut some of the sodium down? Certainly. It is not something you should avoid. You probably need some.
How to avoid losing loose skin when losing a lot of weight? Is it possible? This is a good question that I get a shit ton. Seth, I saw your DM. I'll hit it later. I get this question all the time about avoiding loose skin. I had somebody actually DM me the other day. Somebody I've spoken to, somebody who's been a part of the community for a while, and they said, I wish I looked like you, bro. It looks like you have no loose skin, blah, 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 blah. First of all, absolutely fucking ridiculous that I'm even getting comments like that people saying they want to look like my physique. Same. Second of all, you don't want to look like me. You want to look like you. You just are slightly insecure about your loose skin. And this is talking to somebody who's already lost a shitload of weight. He looks fucking insane, in my opinion. He looks incredible. Kyle, good job to you, buddy. But for those of you that haven't gotten to the point where you're trying to having loose skin, or haven't gotten to the point where you're maybe hesitant on starting a weight loss journey because of loose skin, let me tell you right now, Mike and I both can full-heartedly agree we would much rather have all the loose skin in the world than feel mentally and physically how we felt before we lost the weight. 10 times out of 10. I don't even have that much, but I do have a significant amount around my lower stomach, and not to be too TMI, but I had some around my glutes as well. I looked like an old man down there for a while, but luckily the squats have been helping and we're firming up a little bit. We got a little bit of recoil back there finally. Don't be afraid of loose skin. Don't be afraid of loose skin. It's silly. It's just silly.
Also, it's important to note that if you want to look like us, we are both actively trying to look like someone else right now. We all have goals that are outside of what we currently are, and we keep pushing towards these goals, and we keep changing what it is that we want. It's no longer a race away from something I don't want to be, but more so a journey towards something that I want to be. I'm a work in progress, and allowing myself to feel that has been one of the most freeing parts of this journey. is that I'm not finished, and how great is that?
That's awesome. And it's that mindset of removing the finish line. I talk to a lot of my clients is like, let me just remove the finish line of, because there is no finish line. The finish line is when we croak, like it doesn't come for a while, knock on wood. One thing I will say about wanting to look like somebody else, I feel like I try to implement into my people and to myself, not to compare yourself to anybody else, but be careful. Watching anime will fuck up your your body dysmorphia and who you want to look like, because then you want to start looking like anime characters, and it gets real sketchy real quick. Because now I want to look like all these absolutely insane anime characters. But I digress.
Yeah,
Let's dive into the.
I've been working on trying to get some big anime titties.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Trying real hard.
I
It's
think
not
that
working.
would. I think that would fit well on your frame.
My back hurts too much already. I don't need it.
So
hey everyone,
now that,
welcome to the Big Fellas
right.
podcast.
Yeah, we'll probably keep most of that in. Today we have a really good topic, and I think it's pretty neat. Mike, what are we talking about today?
I caught that there, that little wordplay right there. We're talking about NEAT movement, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. There's a whole bunch of words that just means you're up and you're moving. It's not exercise, as the first part of it entails. It's just you being awake. The amount of calories that you are burning just by simply having a mundane day, by lifting your arms and moving them around, by scratching your balls if you have them, and scratching whatever else you have if you don't. Everything burns calories so long as you're awake, and it doesn't have to be exercise. How can we make more of that happen in our day? There's a lot of different ways that we can make that happen. You can park a little bit further away from the grocery store when you go to take a trip. You can go out to your mailbox 3 separate times. You're willing to go to your refrigerator that many times. Why don't you check the mailbox and see if something else is there every time? Move around a little bit more. Get up if you're sitting down at a desk job, or if you work at home like me and Noah do. You have to get up and move around every couple of minutes. If you get up for 5 minutes every hour or so, that'll add up to an hour of extra movement you didn't have the day before. It's a lot of good ways to get extra movement in your day.
Have you ever heard of the Pomodoro technique?
No, I have not. Tell me about
They
it.
also call it like tomato time. There's a website. I think the website's called Tomato Time, but I'm 99% sure it's called the Pomodoro. And essentially, it's just, I think it's named after some like Italian dude that came up with the idea, but it's essentially what you're saying. It's just systemized a little bit. It has a timer. I forget the exact time sequences. I think it's like 55 minutes of work and then a 5-minute break, or 2 hours of work and a 20-minute break. Something, I think you can adjust the time frames, but essentially it's giving yourself roughly an hour of deep work and then forcing yourself to stand up and take a 10-minute break. And not even from that. And I think it was originally kind of brought about to more so just increase productivity on whatever it is that you're working on, and less so to increase your movement. But it can kind of be a double whammy. You can end up being more efficient and get more calories in work, get more done and burn more calories, feel better, feel more mentally clear. Fun fact, I sit at my desk every fucking day when I work, and it gets really old really quick, and I don't like sitting here. And I'm gonna be honest, when it gets warm outside and as it's getting warmer, as we're approaching spring and summer eventually, I have a leather chair. This gets hot, man. I'm not trying to get too gross, but it gets warm back here. That's all I'm gonna say. And so I need to stand up. And I've gone on 2 separate walks already because I needed to get outside. It's a beautiful day out, and if I'm going to have access to the beautiful sunlight and I have a 10-minute time frame, I'm going to go get for a quick little walk in. And then I find when I come back to my desk, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. So that's just an easy way. And yeah, I mean, sure, my Apple Watch told me I burned X amount of calories, whatever. I'm not listening to the amount of calories that it's telling me I burnt, but I know I'm burning calories. And that's kind of what we're looking for here. Is we're more so focused on the lifestyle shifts and the willingness to go get a little extra movement, as opposed to becoming too obsessed with the actual how many calories are we burning, how many calories are we burning. It's not going to be that many, but over time, the small drips of extra movement throughout the 2, 5, 10, 20-year span, it's going to add up.
Don't worry about your wrist-worn calorie tracker. Some of you have the Ring. They're just making them smaller and smaller now. Very interesting. It's overestimating the amount of calories you're burning. Just move. You don't have to worry about the numbers. You're not moving as much as you'd like to right now, or as much as you should. So increase it. I meet with my one-on-one clients once a week for an hour. And what I'm starting to do now is implement a time in the middle of that where we just get up and walk or move or do some push-ups or whatever. I'm usually doing push-ups on the ground because boy, does my chest need it. But when I get back to that meeting, after that 5 minutes and we sit down together, my brain is feeling more energized. Like sitting for an hour sucks. It doesn't feel good. And I feel like I've got more to talk about. I feel like I've got more questions for my clients. And I feel like my clients give me better answers when we do that.
I dove in a little bit into a few studies a while ago, and I looked into the neurological benefits of movement. And more specifically, I was looking for the boost in neurological activity and cognitive function while walking. I didn't look too deep, but I did find a handful of studies all correlating to the same final answer, saying just 10 minutes of walking will boost cognitive function in people of all ages, children, adults, and seniors. And
Mhm.
the easy way that I like to, I use it as a coping mechanism, as I use it as a way to decompress. I use it as a way to think. I use it as a way to organize my thoughts and everything. The best way I can explain it, especially if you don't have your phone on you, going for an actual walk, which kind of teeters. I would count walking as non-exercise activity, but also you could count it as cardio. It's kind of a weird in between. Walking is kind of its own thing. But going on walks is something that I am a fanatic of towards. I am so adamant about getting more people to just go on hot girl walks. And the easiest way I can describe it is when you're in the shower and you're cooking up great ideas. When you're just a good idea machine, you're thinking of all those comebacks, what your fifth grade bully said to you 20 years ago, and you're thinking of these song lyrics, and you're writing poetry and coming up with the deepest philosophical breakthroughs while you're in the shower. That brain, higher level, it's like that on steroids when you're walking outside. Genuinely. I have had my greatest ideas to date. Almost every single one of them came while I was walking. Every single time. So it helps way more mental, almost more than it does physical.
Why do you think I film all my videos while I'm walking? Not only is
Touch
it
out.
just an opportune time to do that and talk to myself and not seem crazy because I'm doing it into my phone, but movement really helps make your brain move. It really does change the entire tone of the day when I get extra movement in. I feel it when I don't. So it's important, even if you can't get outside and dedicate like a solid block of time to exercise, you can just work it into the day. It adds up at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we're speaking more purely off a calories perspective and in a weight loss perspective, because obviously that's why the majority of you guys are here, is to aid your fitness and weight loss journeys. What increasing your non-exercise activity is going to do, the parking further behind, like at the farther parking spots, at the grocery store, the finding a hobby, basketball, you climbing into a window in the windowsill like Bit does, playing with your pets, doing the dishes, cleaning around the house, all of these different things that are movement but not exercise. Me flailing my hands around like an Italian, even though I have a single drop of Italian in me, that is non exercise movement. When you can increase that over the long term, you're just burning, you're raising your baseline. You are just how you live, burning more calories, and thus, by a very slight margin, making it easier on yourself. And a whole nother realm to be said that isn't really touched on in this, you're increasing your overall endurance and capacity for more movement in the future. So maybe you're thinking about going into the gym, but you're scared that you're going to get too tired too fast or you're not going to be able to do it effectively. Just start increasing your NEAT, and you'll find that the extra steppage, the extra carrying the groceries in, a few extra trips, et cetera, those things will add up. Your heart and your whole body will get better and have a higher capacity, higher endurance to go so much further.
You know who I think this is good for as well? First off, Nate movement is good for everyone. But if you're a person who feels like, one, you don't like exercise, which is not true, you just haven't found the thing that you like doing yet,
Cut out.
or two, you just feel like you don't have a lot of time, this helps a lot. You don't have to commit to anything. If you really just feel like you don't like exercise, or maybe you're a person who physically can't do a lot, this is a good thing for you too, because you can probably do 5 minutes of something.
Mm-hmm.
What that is going to be up to you. I'll tell a story that I tell all the time, and I wish I had figured out who this was when I saw the video, but a long time ago, I saw a video of a man who was about 600 pounds, something like that. And he's sitting in a lawn chair outside in his backyard. And he stands up, and that's the exercise. And he spends the next minute or so talking about how he had to work his way up to standing up. And then he had to work his way up to standing for 30 seconds, and then standing for a minute. And his goal in this video was to stand for 2 minutes. That was the exercise. That was the entire length. He didn't walk. He didn't take a single step forward. Yeah, he didn't take a single step forward. He didn't do anything other than stand. And that was very difficult for him. But he saw progress in those standing movements because he couldn't stand for 30 seconds before. He couldn't stand for 2 minutes before. And by the end of that video, he had stood up for 2 minutes for probably the first time in decades. Whatever your movement is, whatever your exercise is, do it. It doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to look like Noah's. It just has to look like yours.
And we talk tirelessly on the nutrition side, on the workout side, on every side about starting meeting yourself where you're at. We talked about it a couple times last week's episode, talking about you don't need to, it's like growing up, you know, you don't get thrown into a college class right when you're fucking born, right? You're not getting thrown into the workforce as a 4-year-old, right? You have to take yourself time to learn how these things work, how life works, how society works. Same thing. You have to learn not about how everybody else does it. You have to learn about how you do it. You have to teach yourself what works for you. Everybody's looks a little bit different. I know that's an incredibly cliche thing to say, and I don't like speaking on, like, sometimes words kind of lose their meaning if everybody keeps yapping the same thing over and over. So what we really mean by that is exercise time, not literal exercise time. Fuck it, I'll stand it while I say this. Who cares? Exercise time, motherfucker. List out and think, where's an opportunity that you can add a few extra seconds of movement into your life? Okay, let me give you some examples, right? Do you order your groceries online? Do you use Instacart? No, you don't. You don't do that anymore. You're going to go to the fucking store and buy your fucking groceries like a big boy or a big girl or a big they them. You're going to go do it yourself like an adult. Guess what? It's going to give you an extra 1,500 steps. Light work. You get a phone call? Do you sit when you take the phone calls? Not anymore. You're going to do it while you're standing. I lap around my house like a psychotic person. But guess what? I accidentally get like 2,000 steps every time I do an hour phone call. It's an absolute cheat code. You got a lot of texts to respond to. Guess what? I just walked for 45 minutes responding to all my clients. Was I exercising? No. Did I even feel like I was walking? No. Do you really like watching TV shows or anime or movies? That's great. So do I. Go get a stationary bike or sit on a stationary bike at the gym. A Planet Fitness membership is $10. A lot of you probably already have one. I love Planet Fitness. Set your phone up on the bike. The first 5 minutes is uncomfortable. You're like, I don't want to fucking be here. I'm uncomfortable. This is gross. This is weird. I want to watch this at my house. Give yourself another 5 minutes and actually dive into the show you're watching. An hour has passed. You've watched 2 episodes. You've done an hour of biking and you've biked 8 to 12 miles. Time for a self-audit, self-reflection. Stand in front of the mirror and look at all the different aspects of your life where we can add in just a hair of more movement. Standing more, walking more, doing more chores, getting up or down more, going up or down the stairs more instead of the elevator, parking further away. All of these ideas are not meant to feel like exercise, but gosh darn it, if you start doing them, you might start seeing some changes and you might start feeling a little bit more energized and life might start feeling a little less difficult.
To add on to watching stuff or consuming different media at the gym, I've heard of the school of thought in which you save a specific artist or a specific playlist or a television show or whatever it is that you, or a podcast that you only listen to when you're at the gym. So
I love that.
So it's something that can motivate you to go in the first place because you're like, well, I want to see the next episode of this thing, but I can't watch it here. I have to watch it at the gym. That's my gym podcast. That can help you motivate. That can trick your brain into thinking it's workout time. I am now listening to this show or I'm listening to this artist, so it's time to work out. We're very simple creatures. We're all monkeys. We can be tricked easily. Find ways to trick yourself.
You got to Pavlov yourself. Are you familiar
Mm-hmm.
Familiar with the Pavlov, the
Oh, I
scientist?
am.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pavloving yourself. I'm doing that right now with a specific show that I'm watching. I do it, and I only do it when I'm either on the treadmill or on the bike. So it freaking works. Okay, well, that was I kind of burnt a lot of the topics I was going to say on my little soliloquy there. But let's talk about a couple of different mechanisms for non-exercise activity that, well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about some other ways, because the reason we want to raise our non-exercise activity is because we want to raise the amount of calories we burn without really trying, right? Let's talk about some other ways where we can increase our total daily energy expenditure that includes meat and other things as well. Because I think a huge misconception is the reason we're placing so much emphasis on the non-exercise stuff is because the actual calories that you burn from exercise is way lower than most people think.
I heard the other day that the difference between running a 5K and a 10K is like 300 calories or something. That's something that I would need to be checked on because I don't know if that's true or not. And obviously, that's going to vary from person to person.
Right.
But it stands to reason, no matter what, that you're not burning as many calories as you think you are through any form of exercise. So if you can trick yourself into moving a little bit more and just adding onto that deficit at the end of the day without feeling like it's a big hassle, it can be a real benefit to you. One of my favorite non-exercise activity thermogenesis things that I do throughout the day is something that I part in all of my clients and I talk about on my live streams pretty much every day. If you are a snacker, this is going to have two benefits for you. One, you're going to get your movement in, and two, it's going to make you think twice about binging on a whole thing of something. The way that I snack, and I've done this before on this show, I've talked about it here, I've talked about it on my shows. When I eat my Oreos, I go over to the cabinet where they live on the top shelf. I take one down, I open the package, take one out, close the package, put it back up, and then I walk over to the couch. I sit down, and then I eat it slowly. And if I want another one, I'm more than welcome to get another. But I have to get up and get it. And it's going to increase my knee movement, yes, but usually that's the thing that convinces me I don't really want it anymore because I have to think about whether or not I truly want it. So not only am I burning those calories, but I'm also not consuming more than I would have otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking on just kind of the exercise activity thermogenesis, the running, the lifting, all those things, we have a really good mantra that we like to repeat. It's we eat in a calorie deficit to lose the fat. We do our cardio to train our heart. We do the strength training to strengthen our body. And we do all of it to strengthen ourselves and our soul, our bodies, are us. All of those things, they all serve purposes. Like, I'm going to go on a long run when we're done recording this podcast. Like, I already told Mike, like, we're going to be working on a super secret, not so secret project. And we're going to be I'm going to go on a run somewhere in between that because that's going to be my main workout for the day. Am I going to burn a bazillion calories so I get to go home and eat a fucking entire thing of whatever, Oreos, which is the go-to food for us, even though we both eat them regularly? No, but it's going to be my main workout for the day because I am trying to run further distances. That's one of my personal goals. I'm not doing it for the calorie loss. I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I want to make myself better. But guess what? When I first started losing my weight, when I very first started my 100-pound weight loss journey, I didn't know very much. And the first thing I did, the first measurement I had was running because I was a Neanderthal and I didn't know anything else. So I just started running. I ran a half mile and I kept running half miles and I kept running half miles. Every single day I would run a half mile. And then I timed my first mile and it was 13 minutes. No, 12 minutes. 11:57 was the time for my first mile. Very slow. I had to stop twice in the middle of that mile. But by continuously adding on to it, I increased my cardiovascular endurance over time. Again, did I burn calories from the act of actually running? Yes. But was I doing it for that purpose? No. Did I start with a 16-mile mini marathon? No. I started with a freaking half mile, brother. I also knew not to track the amount of calories I burned. I just treated it as a little sprinkle of extra calories on the top. That is what you need to find for yourself. When we're talking about exercise, we're not doing it for the sake of burning calories. We're doing it for the sake of bettering ourselves, becoming stronger, becoming a higher endurance levels. Both of those things pair when we talk about just like practical life stuff. Like kind of Mike talked about, like the gentleman who stood up and stood for a minute or 2 minutes. That's huge. Mike, do you have any moments where it got difficult for you to kind of get up and get down, whether it's stairs or chairs? Kind of
Yeah,
winded sitting up and standing
I'm,
down, you know?
I don't know, famously or otherwise, I do talk about it. Yeah, I had trouble getting up, and I'll often say if I dropped my keys, I'd have to think about selling my car because it was a lot. Like, it was an issue. I was like, is it worth it? Do I need it that much? Like, it's not that expensive to get a beater or something. So the scale couldn't tell me that I could bend over and get those keys. Now it's not an issue. I can get up and get down. I don't have to grunt anymore. I'm not out of breath getting up and getting down. Just those little things. And on the topic of you running, you're in a cut right now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're still not doing this to burn calories. You're doing it because you have other goals that are attached to the movement of the exercise. You have
Yes.
a goal of being in a calorie deficit, but the exercise is not necessarily in benefit of that. It is in benefit of a greater purpose.
Like a sub goal. Yeah, it's a smaller goal of the main goal. Now, me being in the deficit and being a lighter body fat percentage is aiding me running longer distances, less pressure on my joints, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd probably still be running just as much if I was bulking. And I kind of got sidetracked a little bit with what I was talking about, but really the reason I brought up the running is because I went from half mile to a full mile to running a mile, then walking a mile. But it's just starting is meeting me where I'm at, and kind of what we were talking about earlier, whether it's non-exercise activity with we were both literally standing up talking about the grocery shopping, talking about the different opportunities for non-exercise movement. Movement is movement. Reflecting, looking into a mirror and saying, okay, what does this person need to do to get a little bit more movement? Does that mean non-exercise movement? Does that mean exercise movement? Meet yourself where you're at. And whether that means standing for a few extra minutes, walking around on a phone call, going for a half-mile run, there's no judgment here. There's no judgment here. I mean, I've seen people that will, off principle, just stand when they're at work waiting for, like, my girlfriend works in a hospital, and I know some people will just, when they're waiting for their next task at the hospital, instead of sitting down in the break room, they'll just keep standing. It's only for a few minutes at a time, but they're burning extra calories standing versus sitting. That's also something that we probably should preface. You burn more calories standing than sitting. Sorry, if we didn't already, which I'm sure that was apparent anyway.
We do. There's more muscles at play. There's stabilizers going on. Yeah, I think most people would assume that would be the case. That being said, there are movements you can do sitting in a chair. Say that you are not able to get up. You can't stand. There's stuff you can do with your arms.
Oh yeah.
You can look up, say that you're in a wheelchair. You can go to YouTube and look up like wheelchair workouts. And there will be someone to teach you how to do that. Are they intense? Some of them. There are some people in wheelchairs that are like bodybuilders up on top because they can still, they've now, those are cases where they're still healthy enough to do that. But, say that you're in a position where you may not be. There are things you can do. And the internet is a great source to find that. YouTube has lots of resources for it. When I started working out myself, not that I'm wheelchair bound or anything, but I did a lot of just body weight workouts at home. And then I got a pair of adjustable dumbbells and then added that. It's very bare minimum for a while.
I have a personal belief that I think YouTube is responsible for responsible for more successful weight loss journeys than all the other weight loss corporations combined.
Oh yeah, I would corroborate that for sure.
So many of my initial motivators and the people that I look up to, the mentors, the creators that I watched from the very beginning, I found them all on YouTube. Fun. I never did it for too long, but I would look up like yoga things to do to help stretch myself out after running every day because I got really sore because I was running every day and I was 300 pounds. But I used YouTube for that. I used YouTube for education on my lifting when I first was getting started. I used YouTube for like recipes. I taught me how to do protein ice cream. Shout out Will Tennyson. Speaking of the wheelchair thing, by the way, everybody watching, there is an absolutely phenomenal YouTube video by Will Tennyson where he goes and he trains for a day with an IFBB pro he's in the wheelchair division. Absolutely incredible video. The man has an
I've seen that one.
amazing mind. You've seen it? Oh, absolutely loved it. I used to watch Will Tennyson religiously.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I don't watch him as much anymore. Phenomenal. phenomenal YouTube video. Small side note. Incredible.
I'm about to get a Ninja Creamy.
I have one. I forgot I have one. I need to use that thing.
Oh, you just cut out there for a second.
I have one, and I forgot that I have one. We're having some connection issues today. You're getting kind of blurry on my end, and I'm cutting out on your end.
We are having some connection issues. Oh, I'm cutting out on yours. Okay, so it's equal. But yeah, I'm getting a Ninja Creamy. I am going to expense it because we need some business expenses, I've been told.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get a Ninja Creamy. I'm going to make some videos with it. I'm really curious to see what I can come up with. I've got a bunch of friends that make great recipes, so I'm going to get to do some collaborations there. I'm excited to see it. If you're not familiar with the Ninja Creamy, it is a machine that allows you to make ice cream in your own home out of whatever you have, pretty much. You could make a full-fat ice cream. It doesn't have to be a diet thing either. Yeah. You can just make your own ice cream with this thing. But a lot of people will utilize it because you can use Fairlife milk and protein shakes and stuff and put it in there. You can put your own mix-ins in there. You can make whatever you want with this thing. And they're not expensive, I don't think. So that's going to be next on the list.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good. I just forget that I have it, and I use my blender for a protein ice cream.
Oh, you have it?
I do. That's what I said when I cut out.
Okay.
But the texture is unmatched. It's insane.
That's been the issue with a lot of these ice cream makers, is that the texture isn't terribly good. The technology to make it creamy is not there. But it seems like this thing across the board is just really, really celebrated. So I'm excited to try it out and make some videos on it.
Yeah, it's next level. The hype meets it for sure. I just forget that I have it sometimes, and then I just use today I made a frozen banana protein ice cream. Absolutely delicious. You read that comment too?
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay.
the one time I looked at my screen.
Yeah, I've been getting distracted by the comments all day today. I
don't normally look at the comments.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't do.
And just for posterity's sake, whether or not this makes it into the episode, somebody said, "Guys, I can't feel my balls." No, let's take this at face value for a second. Maybe this is a genuine thing that's going on right now, and they're scared. Yes, get some help immediately. This is not something that you want to deal with on your own. Number two, sometimes when you're sitting down too long, you can mess with your circulation. That's something that NEAT movement is really good for, is getting up and moving around, making sure your feet aren't falling asleep, your arms aren't falling asleep, because that'll happen when you sit too long. So NEAT movement might bring some feeling back into your balls. That being said, while you're walking around, call 911. I don't think that's terribly normal.
We've been all over the place today, and I love it. But there is one more moment I want to make as far as cardio and non-exercise activity. We talked a ton about different strategies to meet you where you're at, asking yourself the hard questions on how can I add more movement into my life. There's a big misconception around cardio that we've attacked pretty heavily around. Cardio is not the only way to burn calories. It's not you're going to burn calories, but we never want to track it. We never want to use it as the primary catalyst for fat loss. However, what we do want to use it, cardio is strength training for the most important muscle that you have, your heart. When you are doing your cardio, when you're doing your non-exercise activity, when you're pushing your bounds just a little bit every day, you are adding another weight to the bench press of the heart. The heart is getting stronger. Your heart is getting more powerful. Cardio and cardiovascular, remember we learned about the cardiovascular system when we were in school? That's why it's called cardio. It's because it's for the heart. You want happy, healthy hearts and not having to deal with heart disease when we're older? Doing our cardio, removing the fat loss out of it completely. Remove the fat or the calorie deficit, calorie surplus, none of that. If you want to be healthier, adding in more cardio just to have a healthy, happy heart is the best thing that you can possibly do. Also, another point I wanted to mention really quick, and I want to talk to you, I want to see your opinion on this. When we work with people, when I work with clients and we're increasing their movement, even before they see a ton of scale results, they'll see way more endurance and way more energy levels increasing just by like a week or two of increasing movement, just through NEAT alone sometimes. So you can get in better shape and still be a heavier weight. I think that's a huge misconception.
Our bodies adapt so well. I reposted a video today that I made a long time ago where somebody had referred to me as the anti-Lizzo because, you know, I'm a body positive person, but I've lost weight. Whereas Lizzo has not. She's body positive and she's a larger person. And I did not take very kindly to that. I don't take that as a compliment. It is a criticism of someone else, and I don't ever want to be uplifted by someone else being torn down. You know? So it's she is a larger person than I am, and yet performs acrobatic stunts on stage every night. She's running around doing like flips and playing the flute, and like I can't even run for too long. She's in better shape than me, but because she looks larger than I am, people see her and go, "Oh, she's unhealthy." Is it not great to have a lot of subcutaneous fat? Certainly, but that doesn't necessarily mark whether or not a person is healthy or what they're capable of. Clearly, she's capable of a whole hell of a lot that I don't think I could do at the moment.
It's
And
all
that
about,
has a lot to do with what she's doing and moving and doing all
yeah. I mean, body fat percentage does not necessarily directly correlate with how good of shape you're in, and also that's dictated by what your goals are, right? Like, you're not necessarily training to do acrobatics on stage,
that.
but your body hasn't been trained for it. So even with your current, I mean, you're in great shape, but even if that your body's not trained to be doing flips on stage and doing cartwheels or whatever. I've never watched a Lizzo performance, so I don't know what she's doing. But still, like, you haven't been training for that. So in that context, you're not in the best of shape. There's also a completely different, in shape can mean 100 different things. Like, being in shape for basketball means a lot of plyometric jump training, a lot of agility training, and being able to move in short bursts of really quick energy, really quick movements. If you're in shape for soccer or track and field, it means run and don't fucking stop, you know? And that's kind of adjacent to what I'm training for right now, just because I want to get better at running. I want to do a half marathon this year. So keep that in mind too. Like, but when we try to keep the in shape that we're striving for and that our clients are striving for is being able to stand up without pain, being able to reach down and grab something we dropped, being able to grab an extra bag of groceries on the way inside of the house, being able to grab the hamper of laundry and carry it up the stairs without any issue. Just the little things like that. Pick up the kids, play with the kids, throw the football, throw the baseball. That's all we're trying to help people do. So I think, barring some very wild comments, we hit the nail on the head pretty nicely. And I think that was a good place to. I think we covered most of what I wanted to cover. Anything else you got, brother
No,
man?
that's all I can think of. I think we've done pretty well here.
Good. I think this is episode 8 or 9, and I think the further we get into the numbers, the more and more unhinged it's getting.
Which is good. That means we're settling into what we're supposed to be doing. Just as your body will settle into what it's supposed to do, we're settling into what we're supposed to be doing here. And like, just in terms of what you were saying before about sports, you put a basketball player on a football field, they're not going to do well. You know,
Unless it's LeBron.
they're not. They're
But
both
yes,
somebody we would consider to be in shape, but it's just that's not what they're meant to do. They could train to be there, but they're just not trained to do that at the current time, you know.
absolutely.
So what is it that you want to do and what can you do to get there?
I saw a question that's kind of relevant. They're saying, does twitching or fidgeting burn calories? Yes. Does it burn a shit ton of calories? No. But are you burning? Any sort of movement requires energy from your body. Anything that your body's expending energy is burning energy, burning calories. So me doing this, explaining what I'm saying to you, is burning energy. I am burning calories doing this. Is it that many calories? Probably not. But are you being hallucinated by my magical hand signs? Maybe. Who knows? Anywho, I think that's a good place to wrap up. Mike and I got some good stuff to work on today. So thank you guys, as always, so very much for watching. Drop more comments on the YouTube videos. The support has been pretty freaking awesome, seriously. And thank you guys so much for everything. And he and I
Before
are
we
both. Go ahead, please.
I want to propose something because you said that we're going to do some work and then go for our runs and everything. I want to challenge you, and I also want to challenge all of our listeners right before we go. How about right after this, we go and do our workouts, and then we come back and reconvene to work?
Little does he know, that's exactly what I was going to propose to him as well.
We're on the same wavelength. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to say this to you now because we're being watched here on YouTube. And if you've listened this far, obviously you've gotten something from it. So I want you to get more out of it. Go and it doesn't have to be a big workout. It doesn't have to be a gym visit unless that's what you've got planned and you're waiting for someone to tell you to do it. Now's your time. Whatever it is, whatever your movement is, go out and do it. Make it happen. Feel good about it. Check your balls. Make sure that you still got feeling in them. And be kind to yourself.
Whenever you watch this video, whether you're in here live or you're watching it on YouTube, just know once you're done, Mike and I are working out, so you better be too.
Don't let us be better than you.
Don't let
Be
us
better than us.
outwork you. We're too dumb for that. Come on now. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, love, and happiness to you all. Be kind to yourself and keep it simple.